Hi, this is Larry Hatch, and this is a second issue of the Juniper Society video journal. And if you've seen the first edition, we're going to do a online Juniper Society with no dues, free to all. By the way, please subscribe if you like this because we want this to be an international forum on both garden and wild junipers. I'm going to emphasize the cultivated stuff, but we want it to be a gathering place for juniper lovers all over the world. And if you know anything about how YouTube works, if somebody subscribes to a topic they like, you're going to get, they say, 23 times more people looking at that site. That has to do with search engines and YouTube's own search engine and other types of criteria and outcomes. So if you subscribe, we're going to get a lot more juniper people, and I'd really appreciate that. I make no money off of this at all. It's not monetized, so we just want to get together. Please comment on stuff you want to see, stuff you know. You can pontificate, preach a little bit. Again, it's an open forum. And please don't promote any products unless you're a nursery selling junipers, rare junipers or uncommon ones particularly. I don't want to see something like, oh, we got 50 blue rugs for $12. No, I don't want to see that. We'll get rid of that. But if you have something that'll contribute to the study of wild or garden junipers, a book, an article, please include that. Please be on topic. I want to start here with some of the new junipers that we have. There's a nursery called Hartzman's Plant Company, and they have selected a couple of new horizontalis. And the first one we have here is called Brockway Beauty. It was found at Brockway Mountain in Cuneo County Fault near Copper Harbor, Michigan at 720 feet elevation above Lake Superior and about a half-mile east of the big lake itself. It's got a vibrant green color and vigor throughout the year. And from the looks of it, it's got a bright green color with kind of silvery blue tips. So that's going to be an interesting thing for collectors. And they also have a second one here. Oh, before I move on, that was collected in or near Copper Harbor, Michigan, but it's not the juniper called Copper Harbor, Juniperus sintalis Copper Harbor from Blue Horizon. The Copper Harbor is a golden sport of Bar Harbor, and it gets a coppery color in the winter, but it's not the same thing. I'm sure there's going to be some confusion. Hartman's second Juniperus horizontalis selection is one here called Maxton Hugger, and that's a kind of a low dark green version. Looks like it's a little congested and dense. And look at these prices. You can't really go wrong with that. So this is just a couple of ideas for you folks to who want to get some new junipers for your collection. I want to continue with my research notes that I've been through, and I'm going through old catalogs. I want to make a point that many of you can do your own catalog research if you have the time. Go to archive.org, and there are literally, I think it's 43,000 digital nursery catalogs from all over the world, and they have been scanned from places like the Bailey Hortorium and mostly the National Agricultural Library in Washington, D.C., part of our USDA, and that's something taxpayer funded, so it's pretty cool to get something back. And you can search for different species, genera. You have to use a particular type of search, and I guess I'll probably go into that in the future as to how to get the information you're looking for. But there's a lot of really old American nursery catalogs, and I'll be honest with you, it's a gold mine for finding information, pictures, cultivars we've lost, cultivars we thought we lost, cultivars we thought never came to America, cultivars that did, and This is an example of the Calais nursery from 1933. And what amazed me were two of the listings here. And I think some of you can maybe pick them out. There is a Calais compact or Calais juniper that's in the trade still, I think. And it's a compact Pfitzer type juniper. But that's not what we have here. The first one that spotted my attention, although misspelled, was the Juniperus virginiana Cairnartii pendula. And we all know about the Cairnart juniper, which is a dense, cone-filled cultivar of Juniperus virginiana, fairly cold hardy, dense and tufted. It replaces the Hollywood juniper in the north where they can't grow it. There's not a lot of reason to grow it south of Washington, because again, the Hollywood juniper is way prettier. But anyway, they have a weeping form here, which we've never heard of before. I've never seen it. It's probably extinct, but for historical reasons, it's really interesting that we have it here. And that brings up the point, is there a plant or two or three or 10 or 20 of them somewhere? Maybe near this juniper, maybe near this nursery? And I'll let you detectives maybe figure that out. Also of interest is in the middle of the page here, and yeah, please maximize the page if you would, to see if you can see this, is Juniperus virginiana glauca Calais blue. Well, they already have a glauca listing, so it's not the regular glauca. It's apparently their own selection. New, a very desirable type, straight and compact growing. That implies that it's more straight and compact than the regular glauca, perhaps more blue. We can't really terribly assume that. And they've got examples to 4 to 5 feet tall, so they apparently have been growing it a while. That's a juniper, again, lost. We don't know about it. But it would be interesting if somebody's in the area of their nursery, former nursery, to maybe find one and the Cairnartii pendula both. Who knows? Well, that's an interesting detective project. And just to add real quickly, if anybody wants to try to find these missing Calais junipers, their nursery at the time in 1933 and following years was in Painesville, Ohio. And there's some other conifer mysteries associated with them too. They had their own selection, Platycladus orientalis, called Calais golden. They grew that along with Berkman's golden, the Nana aurea type, which is correctly called Berkman's golden, since it was already a Nana aurea in Europe. So if you find a golden platycladus there too, that's not the Berkman's, hey, you might have found another rare conifer. So let's go with that and move on. The next thing I want to talk about is the so-called Maymont Gold juniper situation. It's been called a fiasco, but I'm not going to be that rude about it. And I have to say the Maymont horticulture staff did cooperate with me on this, although they're not endorsing one thing over another. But anyway, I gave them all my evidence and so on, and they've apparently accepted that. What happened was there was an article on conifers in American Nurseryman some years ago by a local professor, horticulturist, and he was going through Maymont as one would in your local collection, and he saw this really beautiful juniper I have pictured here, beautiful gold juniper with a kind of a subglobose aspect, a nice swirl to it, very beautiful. And they said, well, they pulled out the maps and they said, well, it's Juniperus virginiana Scotii from our maps here. And he correctly assumed that's not a Juniperus virginiana, that's definitely a Chinese juniper. Correct on that. And it's not Scotii. Scotii, the Scout juniper, is only yellow in the spring, and the rest of the year it's pretty green. So it's got kind of yellow tips and a yellow tinge, and it becomes green the rest of the year. This thing is bright, shiny gold the whole year. So wow, this is something new. So it was named Juniperus chinensis Maymont Gold. Little problem. Um, this is not a new plant or a mixed up plant. This is ordinary Young's juniper, Young's golden juniper from England, Juniperus chinensis aurea, which had been around since the 1800s, and a little confusing. And I pointed out the evidence that Juniperus chinensis aurea, Young's golden juniper, was in the American trade in the South and in the East Coast around the time this was planted. We know for a fact the Biltmore Nursery in Asheville, North Carolina offered it. So did a couple other nurseries, and we're pretty sure that the Maymont folks who were very savvy in collecting rare plants would easily have known about the Biltmore Nursery, one of the most famous tree nurseries of the time, as well as some of these others, and it's most likely they purchased from them. There was every opportunity to get Juniperus chinensis aurea, the Young's golden juniper, into that collection from nurseries as close as North Carolina. This is in Richmond, Virginia. So that's that. So the question is, why did their map say Juniperus virginiana scotii? Well, I knew the answer because there's a plant on their grounds, literally down the hill from this juniper, that is labeled Juniperus virginiana scotii. So they have two golden junipers. They have the chinensis aurea, kind of towards the entrance area, and then they have the true Juniperus virginiana scotii towards the old entrance area. There's a series of old stone gates that used to be the main entrance in the past. Can't get in there now. And that's down the hill. Actually, the tram stops there. That's the reason I saw it. I literally jumped out of the tram. I don't know, this might have been 25, 30 years ago. And because I saw that label scotii, and I was like, oh my goodness, I hadn't seen a scotii since Cornell. And so I literally jumped off the tram and had to walk back. I said, well, I've never photographed it here in a spring yellow color. So the next spring I'd made a note, go to Maymont, photograph the thing in its bright colors, and that's what I did here. So basically, Maymont Gold, Juniperus chinensis, does not exist. It never did exist. It was just a mix-up with the maps. The original conclusion was correct. It is a chinensis, and but it doesn't need a name. It's the old stuff. And again, it was in the trade. Asheville, North Carolina to Richmond, Virginia, from one of the most famous tree catalogs in the country. Yeah, it's a done deal. Even though we don't have historical evidence it came from there, it could have come from one of several other nurseries too. There's absolutely, in fact, if you go on the internet and look up Juniperus chinensis aurea, there's pictures of it that look identical to the Maymont tree. And so it's not a mystery anymore. It was just a confusion, and the professor meant well. But I think people should admit their mistakes. I'll leave it at that. Want to talk about some new junipers. Again, it's a couple more. This one showed up in the tree book by Mike Durr, and Juniperus virginia tapestry, a trademark. Badly represented here as a trademark and a cultivar, can't be both. And this is from selecttrees.com. Selecttrees.com. And they are offering a couple of Juniperus virginiana selections that transplant very well, are very durable, somewhat dense. You can see, even though this one is a little spiky when it's young, it's selected from a dense kind of ovoid to ellipsoid plant. And by the way, I know a lot of dense kind of ovoid egg-shaped red cedars around the country, mostly the East Coast. So if anyone wants to propagate those, let me know. We can work something out there because I think they might be good. The reason these selecttrees.com junipers are important is that they transplant well. Everybody's red cedars are a dime a dozen. You just grab them. Don't even have to dig them. Just pull them out of the ground when they're little. You gotta wear gloves. They're prickly. And then just no. I've seen many plantings of red cedar, especially in the south here, where half the plants, if not 80% of the plants, die. Juniperus virginiana, as tough as it is when it seeds itself, it's tough as hell to transplant. We're not really sure why. It's a juniper. It doesn't need a lot of water. But even when you water them and tend them, maybe they're tending them too much. I don't know. They just have transplanting problems. And I've seen big plantings, highway plantings, other plantings. They just, half of them to 80% of them vanish. And of course they turn this bright, ugly, prickly orange. And somebody's got to go in there and take them out. So having these cultivars, these clones like Tapestry, that are proven to transplant well from containers, that's an added bonus, and we really want to applaud them for that. I have published more than 30 new cultivars of juniper. It's more than I can cover in this journal. I'm the chief registrar for the Open Registration Cultivars Project. It was started in 1915. This is an international project to actually register woody plants. And at the time, only 1 to 2% of new woody plant cultivars were registered, and we've done something about that. This latest spring 2020 edition has many new junipers in it. It's available absolutely free. Just download a PDF from cultivar.org, www.cultivar.org, and you can get all those junipers. In fact, there's over 230 new woody plants, because I know most of you will like other junipers. If you'll take my suggestion, you'll also want to download our other older edition of the register from the winter of 2018. That has a lot of junipers in it too. So if you get both of those, and again, they're free, it takes you a couple seconds to download them, you'll see some more new junipers of interest. And I think that'll get you caught up a little while. Want to put in a plug for a new juniper that Monrovia is plugging. It's Juniperus horizontalis Jazzy Jewel. It's a really bright golden chimera of Juniperus horizontalis, presumably a plumosa type. It looks fairly tall with divergent foliage, but I'm not really sure where it came from. But it's a bright one anyway, and if you can get a hold of it, that would be interesting. I've never seen it distributed with their conifers on the East Coast. The last juniper I want to talk about is normally sold as Juniperus virginiana royo, R-O-Y-O, sometimes poyo, P-O-Y-O. Nobody can seem to tell me where it came from. It just showed up, and it's kind of a upright, spreading, Pfitzer-shaped juniper, but it's the most frosty, silvery blue you ever saw. It's a beautiful plant. It's got kind of dense, semi-tufted little pyramids of foliage, and it's the most beautiful arching, spreading juniper in this color that you'll find anywhere. I'm guessing, and I'm not really sure, that it's probably a hybrid with Juniperus horizontalis. But as we've seen it here at the Ralston Arboretum, it's starting to produce, when it matures, tons of these bright blue berry-like cones. And at the Ralston Arboretum, they were just like all over the ground like blueberries. It was just amazing. And this thing's got everything going for it: color, form, density, kind of a loose, elegant feel. But this fruit is just icing on the cake, blueberries on the cake. It's amazing to me. Now the cones are fairly large, much larger than Virginiana, and larger than some horizontalis. So that's making me think maybe it's got something else in it, like chinensis. I don't know. It's hard to say. But anyway, it'll be interesting to study this further. It's ROYO. Sometimes sold as POYO. And if you know about the true history of it, let me know. There's been a lot of speculation, and I tracked down some of the leads of who grew it first and whatnot, and those never worked out. So, anyway, if you know something about it, please let me know. Thanks. Let all of us know, and subscribe. For more information on these and thousands of new and rare woody plants, please consider subscribing to Hatch's Cultivars of Woody Plants, a 6,500-page PDF digital encyclopedia that's available only at cultivar.org.